At the beginning, we meet our main character, Kaizaki Arata, a 27-year-old man who is struggling to find a job. While pretending to be good friends with those around him, he goes out into the street and is informed by his parents that they will no longer send him money because he is old enough to take care of himself. Next to him appears a man named Yoke Ryo, who knows everything about him. He tells Kaizaki that if he agrees to be a subject at the ReLIFE laboratory for 1 year, all his living expenses will be covered during that time, and if everything goes well, they might even help him get a job. Kaizaki accepts the offer, and the next day, he sees that he has become younger because of the pill he took. The doorbell rings, and Yoke arrives to show Kaizaki the school he will attend for 1 year. Kaizaki even signs the contract. Kaizaki goes to school for his first day and thinks he found a good seat. However, the seats were assigned earlier, so he has to move to his actual seat, which makes him embarrassed. What shocks him the most is that Yoke is also in the class as another student. Then the teacher, Amatsu, comes in and introduces herself. The class introduces themselves, starting with Yoke, whom we already know. Next is Hishiro, the top student, followed by Kaizaki, the main character. Then there's Rina, the redhead girl, Oga, the attention seeker, and Onoya, the girl you like, but will never admit it. Onoya has a small talk with Kaizaki, which makes him feel dreamy about her, but then the teacher tells them to prepare for a test. When Kaizaki looks for a pen, he can't find one. The teacher checks his bag, finds a pack of cigarettes, and tells Kaizaki to meet her later, clearly angry with him, feeling embarrassed by the bad attention he's getting. Kaizaki, after Oga tells him to pass the test, literally hands the test papers to the next person instead of taking one for himself. Ha ha ha. Back to the main focus, Kaizaki still doesn't have a pencil. Then Rina, like a savior, gives him one without him even asking. Kaizaki takes it, feeling a bit embarrassed, like a little kid who really needed it. After the test is over, Kaizaki thanks Rina for the pencil and learns from Oga that she wants to become the class representative. After finishing school feeling tired, Kaizaki gets ready to go home. However, his teacher, Amatsu, calls him into her office to talk about the pack of cigarettes. Amatsu gives Kaizaki a lecture about how bad cigarettes are, but he ignores her since she's younger than him. He then tells her she's doing a good job for someone so young with a job. When she thanks him, Kaizaki remembers another woman saying, "Thank you," to him. Amatsu still doesn't let Kaizaki off and tells him to hand in an apology letter by tomorrow. As he's leaving, Kaizaki asks why Yoke is in the classroom too. Yoke replies that Kaizaki is his subject, and he needs to stay close to observe and report everything about him. Kaizaki tells Yoke once again that he just plans to blend into the background and get through the year for the promised job. Yoke then leaves, reminding him not to rely on him too much during school. The next day at school, based on the exam results, Hishiro and Oga are chosen as the class representatives. Yep, you guessed it. She's furious. What a surprise. I'ma make this simple. Rina loves him, but he's too dull to notice. Period. Oh, and by the way, Kaizaki failed every single exam and has to retake them until he gets a passing grade to avoid failing. Oga offers to help Kaizaki pass the next exams by studying together, but then, another pretty failure shows up, Onoya, who has also failed every test. This makes Kaizaki and Onoya stick around Oga to study.
What's he feeling happy about? He's even blushed.
While in the cafeteria together, Onoya and Kaizaki ask Oga if he and Rina are in a relationship, which he quickly denies. But when Oga shares a story about how he once got one ear pierced and, to avoid wasting the other, gave it to Rina, who wore it the next day, he finds it hilarious. However, both Onoya and Kaizaki feel bad for Rina because Oga is too oblivious to notice that she loves him. As they continue talking, Kaizaki notices Hishiro is having a problem and goes over to ask her what's wrong. She calls Kaizaki nicknames like cigarette guy and 4 test paper guy. She tells Kaizaki she has no money and can't buy lunch, so he offers her his money. In a moment of suspicion about him being an adult, Kaizaki accidentally touches Hishiro's hand.
Oh yes, my friends. He committed the bravest act ever. Our hero, the one and only, has pulled off the impossible. He actually touched a girl's hand. What a milestone.
Hishiro takes the money and tells Kaizaki she'll pay him back. Later, when Kaizaki joins Oga and Onoya, they all exchange contacts so they can message and text each other whenever they want. After eating, Kaizaki heads to the teacher's room to hand in his apology letter. There, he runs into Hishiro, who calls him by the nicknames she remembers because she still can't remember his actual name. When Hishiro tells Kaizaki that she came to ask the teacher about a question on the exam, Kaizaki comments on how serious she is. Hishiro then opens up, and Kaizaki gives her advice on how to be more friendly with others. He starts by telling her to try smiling more, but Hishiro ends up turning her face into a creepy grin, like a grinning monster. Seeing it's getting late, Kaizaki decides to leave, but then Hishiro asks for his phone. Kaizaki realizes she means she wants his phone number. Hishiro is trying to make more friends, starting with Kaizaki, by asking for his number. She even smiles naturally this time, while Yoke is secretly listening everything happening between them. While doing math exercises, Yoke reminds Kaizaki not to tell anyone he's an adult, or it will all end badly. After the call, Hishiro sends him a formal message and a sticker of a cat. Kaizaki jokes that she looks like the cat, and Hishiro replies with a meow. This makes Kaizaki put away his cigarettes and focus on his math work. While waiting outside, Rina thinks about the old times when she and Oga would do the class rep work together, but then she sees Oga with Hishiro, who tries to smile at Rina, but ends up making a weird grin, which annoys Rina. Later at the cafeteria, Rina meets up with her friend Hanoka. A quick intro. Hanoka is the honest girl with, well, the big, you-know-what. Rina sees Hanoka and Hishiro doing great at everything, while she tries her best but can't keep up. Even so, she still cares about Hanoka as her friend. Oga finds it strange that Kaizaki and Onoya still failed their tests, even though he's been helping them with school subjects. When Oga suggests inviting Hishiro to eat with them and help with studying, Kaizaki quickly refuses, thinking it would make Rina even more upset than she already is. Later that evening, Kaizaki chats with Hishiro, and she mentions she might become friends with Rina, completely misunderstanding the situation. Kaizaki tries to get Yoke to stay with Hishiro during lunch, so she won't be alone, but Yoke declines. Yoke tells Kaizaki that he's different now, meaning Kaizaki is starting to care more about others than just getting through the year. This makes Kaizaki to think about what he is doing. The next day, while playing volleyball alone, Rina returns the key of the gym class and sees Hishiro's bag. She takes it to cause some trouble to Hishiro, but Kaizaki catches her and asks what she's doing. They both end up falling down the stairs, only to be found by Hishiro. Kaizaki wakes up in the nurse's office and is told that Hishiro brought them there. He wonders why Rina took Hishiro's bag. When Rina wakes up, Kaizaki asks why she took Hishiro's bag. She admits she wanted to cause her some trouble. Kaizaki then tells her, if you think the only way to win is by messing with someone, that's pretty low. Rina breaks down, confessing that she's tried hard to be better than Hishiro and Hanoka, but they always surpass her effortlessly. Kaizaki advises her not to compare herself to others and to focus on her own progress, giving her a pat on the head. Before leaving, Kaizaki tells Rina to ask Hishiro for a smile next time. Outside, Hishiro stops him, asking why Rina took her bag. Kaizaki says it was to cause trouble to her, leaves and gets back in a place nearby to see what happens between them, with Yoke next to him. When Rina comes out, she says she hates Hishiro for always mocking her with that weird grin, but when Rina asks her to smile, she realizes Hishiro doesn't know how to smile. Rina apologizes, and they become friends. She then tells Hishiro not to hold back in exams or their friendship is off. The next morning, Kaizaki gets a call from Oga to open the door. Since it's the day, they're all studying for the exams together with Onoya. After cleaning the house, Kaizaki lets Oga and Onoya in. When Onoya finds something old, Kaizaki gets worried. They'll discover his secret. Oga picks up a calendar and Kaizaki throws it against the wall to kill a fake bug, trying to hide the job interview details on it. Oga gets called in for his part-time job and leaves, making Kaizaki anxious since he's now alone with Onoya in his house. After hours together, Onoya confesses she has feelings for Kaizaki. He gently says he doesn't feel the same, apologizing to her. Suddenly, Yoke bursts through the door. Yoke reveals that Onoya isn't actually a regular student. She's part of the ReLIFE support team and was testing Kaizaki. Both Yoke and Onoya bow, apologizing for not telling him sooner. The next day at school, Kaizaki fails the exams while Onoya passes. Now, Kaizaki has to meet with the teacher after school. After school, Kaizaki meets with teacher Amatsu and notices that Hanoka also failed her exams, just like him. As they walk together before volleyball practice, Hanoka asks Kaizaki if Onoya has a crush on Oga. Kaizaki quickly denies it, saying no. Hanoka later tells Rina that Onoya isn't into Oga. Then, while grabbing something from another room, she overhears some girls badmouthing her. She hides, listening, until Rina walks in and tells the girls off, saying they should work hard if they want to beat Hanoka instead of gossiping. Hanoka quietly cries, feeling grateful to Rina. Hanoka and Kaizaki both study hard for the exams, but the next day, only Hanoka passes while Kaizaki fails again. After all the hard work she put into studying for the exams, Hanoka faints a little in the volleyball area, causing some volleyballs to fall to the ground that make Rina sprain her knees. After apologizing to Rina multiple times, Rina responds that it doesn't matter because she feels unworthy of the team and isn't like Hanoka, who is everything the team has. This hurts Hanoka, causing her to leave in tears, where she is found by her two best friends, Akira and Asaji. The next day, Hanoka and Hishiro are together at school, since Rina is absent. Rina shows up at school to tell the teacher she won't play in the volleyball game because she doesn't want to drag the team down. Hishiro notices tension between Hanoka and Rina, but isn't sure how to handle it, so she decides to ask Kaizaki for help. Hishiro decides to visit Kaizaki's house, which surprises him. Hishiro asks Kaizaki if something is wrong between Hanoka and Rina, but Kaizaki admits he doesn't know either. Hishiro asks Kaizaki for help to figure out how to fix the situation between Rina and Hanoka, and they decide to team up. Kaizaki and Hishiro ask Hanoka about what's going on between her and Rina, and Hanoka shares everything. Akira and Asaji, listening from outside the door, hear Hanoka's confession, and Akira decides to bring Rina to listen too. Hanoka admits that her time at school has been meaningful because of Rina, and she doesn't want to finish school without repairing their friendship. Rina, who is listening from outside the door, hears everything Hanoka says. Kaizaki and Hishiro encourage Hanoka to talk to Rina. When Hanoka stands up, she notices Rina at the door. Rina runs away, and Oga mentions that Rina still cares about Hanoka, but is just a bit stubborn. The next day, the volleyball match is about to start, but Rina hasn't shown up. Hishiro and Kaizaki decide to go to her house to bring her to the match. Hishiro asks Rina if she really wants to stay at home and cut ties with Hanoka or go to the match and play. Rina breaks down, admitting she wants to play but fears being a burden to the team. Despite this, Kaizaki and Hishiro convince her to come to the volleyball match. Everyone is happy to see Rina, but they lose the match and cry. Rina and Hanoka make up, become close friends again, and thank Hishiro for bringing them back together. The next day, Kaizaki asks Yoke if he can take the pill to become an adult again because he wants to visit the grave of his former senpai, as it is the anniversary of her death. Yoke agrees, but he decides to go with him as well. When they go to the grave, Kaizaki recalls the painful memories of his senpai. He remembers how she took her own life after being falsely accused of a mistake at work, and how her boss used her death to improve the company's reputation. Overcome with anger and sadness, Kaizaki resigned from the company, unable to stand the injustice of her death. After leaving the grave, a man and a woman approach Kaizaki. They reveal that they work at the same company he resigned from, and that, to them, he is like a hero. They explain that they know the company is a toxic place, but Kaizaki's decision to stand up and resign left a lasting impact on them. This realization makes Kaizaki feel proud, knowing that his actions had a meaningful effect on these young people. The next day at school, Kaizaki asks Oga if he has someone he likes. Oga, being sincere, responds, "I like everyone." Kaizaki then asks if there's a girl Oga wants to be around, talk to, and spend time with. Rina comes to Oga's mind. At night, Oga realizes he's in love with Rina, but feels unsure about what to do, so he messages Kaizaki for advice. The next day at school, both the boys and girls come together to help Oga find the right moment and place to confess to Rina. In the end, Oga decides he will confess to her during the upcoming firework festival. While preparing for the festival fireworks, Hishiro gets a text from Rina saying she plans to confess to Oga. Rina asks for Hishiro and Hinoka's help to create a moment where she and Oga can be alone. After everyone gathers at the festival, they wander around and eventually leave Rina and Oga alone together. Oga then casually and effortlessly tells Rina that he loves her. Rina gets surprised and confesses her feelings to Oga. Oga panics, and Rina punches him in embarrassment. I can't. Things get really awkward from here. Kaizaki and Hishiro enjoy the fireworks together, and during the moment, Hishiro reflects on her past memories. She recalls that she was chosen by the ReLIFE laboratory. After the fireworks, Ogi and Rina come out looking shy as a new couple. Their friends congratulate them and tease them a little, making the moment happy and fun. Everyone is glad to see them together. As everyone heads home, Kaizaki and Hishiro walk together. In their minds, they silently tell each other, "I won't forget you." They realize that they're near the end of the experiment. As always, thank you for watching, and see you on the next one. Take care.